Okay, first off, I want to thank the grace of heaven and the virtues of the masters, the mercy of the grand predecessor and predecessors, transmitting masters, and everyone here today to have this opportunity to continue talking about the Maitreya Disaster Rescue Sutra. So today we are, well, this is the 6th session. So there's probably, there will be, there's one more session, so we're near the end here. As you can see on the screen, I hope everyone can see this. Basically, we're in this section here. This is a section that you can say talks about the Maitreya's third appearance, or it's that time, the time when Maitreya will appear for the third time. And so, as we understand it, that is when there is going to be a great, the final catastrophe, as sometimes it's called, or this great calamity, the apocalypse, if you want to say it that way. Okay, so last week we talked about that first line. Okay, and then so here we're starting with the second line. Now I know this section, it's because it's talking about the end of days, so today's discussion might actually sound a little bit depressing, but anyways, all right. So let's go. Okay, so the last time. All right, so it's talking about. Okay, so here we are. So this line says, 车起早起这日夜, right? 头顶森罗七宝星, right? So, 车起 is to raise, like as in the flag. So, 早起 is a black flag. Okay, and then 遮 is to cover up, the block, to obscure, and then 日夜 is the sun and moon, or you can say the sky. So, this black flag is going to blacken the sky, okay? And then 头顶, which is the top of the head, and then 森罗 is connected together, and then 七宝星 is the 7 treasure star. Okay, that's literally 7 treasure star, but that's actually referring to our, you can say it's the first treasure. Okay, so, all right. Yeah. Okay, so so it says basically this is referring to the previous line was talking about the North Star deity, the 北方真武大帝. Okay, so basically he'll be raising, or he has waving this black flag, right? And when he does so, it blocks out the sun, moon, stars, everything. So there'll be darkness around the world. All right. And so you could say, one explanation says that, the flag of this North Star deity, it's black, right? The reason why it's black is it's the north, right? The north corresponds to the element of water. Water is black, okay? So, or corresponds to the color black. So, and then it's waving this flag, blocking out the sun, moon, and stars. Now, under this black flag, all the demons and spirits, they can't escape. Okay, so it's like this net, catches them. But this is one explanation, anyways. All right, so there, the duty of this North Star deity, or one of his duties, I guess, is and he's also leading. See, this is the North Star deity is the polar star, right? The North Star, and so he's the leader of these Big Dipper stars, right? Because remember, all these stars represent deities or celestial beings. And then their duty is to vanquish demons and evil spirits. Okay, so now another interpretation says, refers to this as talking about our internal virtues, that we must conquer our own sixth sense roots. And if we follow our conscience and the true principles, then we can overcome the internal and external evils, right? Now we tend to say that, in fact, a lot of people, everyone kind of assumes that it's talking about nuclear war, right? Because when you have a nuclear war, especially if it's, if it's world war, okay, a worldwide nuclear war, in other words, a nuclear holocaust or apocalypse, then yeah, you will definitely get what we call a nuclear winter. Nuclear winter meaning, yeah, because all of the nuclear explosions kick up all that dust into the atmosphere, and it blocks out the sun, and so this will cause a nuclear winter, which, because it's blocking out the sun, then it's going to get cold, right? There's no light, no heat coming in from the sun, so it becomes dark and cold. So that's kind of the assumption that we're talking about when everything goes black or dark in the sky. Of course, there could be also potentially another cause, which would be, you can say, extraterrestrial. Okay, so a space rock, an asteroid or something hits the Earth. Okay, and that could cause the same thing. Okay, so that in Earth's history, that has happened, which they say, this huge asteroid hit the Earth, and that's what caused the demise of those dinosaurs. But and it's the same thing. It will have a similar effect in terms of darkening the world by all the dust that gets thrown up into the atmosphere. Of course, there won't be radiation from that, but so with the nuclear war, there's also going to be radiation, which is nuclear fallout, which makes it a lot more dangerous. Okay, now, so we've talked about in the past this gangfeng, right? The gangfeng is as described in the Bible, right? The book of Revelation. It's the winds from the four corners of the earth. Okay, so but literally, yeah, you can kind of break down that word, the gang character, into that. Okay, for four corners. Okay, so but this can destroy everything. Now we know that a nuclear blast, right? It's basically the explosion. There's this shock wave, right? You can say is like this wind, but carries fire, this heat, intense heat. Okay, and that will destroy and incinerate everything that's within a certain range. Now scientists say that such a condition, basically the this nuclear winter. Okay, so it can last several weeks, or at least several weeks. Okay, if not longer. Okay, probably because basically the dust is not going to just clear. The atmosphere is not going to clear up, right away. So it takes time, and it could even take years. All right, so gradually all that dust kind of falls to the ground. Okay, so but during this time, of course, because it's dark, it's blocking out the sun, so the temperature will drop. They say, like basically 10 to 20 degrees Celsius, which is basically about 18 to 36 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, so it's a big drop in temperature, worldwide temperature, and yeah, so this will have many implications. Obviously, because of the darkness and the temperature change, the drop in temperature, food, right, will be an issue. The crops, so it could, so besides the death and destruction from the nuclear explosions themselves, there's probably, you end up with famine situations as well. Okay, so it's certainly unpleasant thing. Now the 7 treasure star. Okay, so this refers to the 7-color treasure star, which on our head, right, is the first treasure. Okay, so it gives off 7 colors of unlimited brightness and wisdom. Right, when the apocalypse is upon us, those who have received the Tao and cultivated will be like beacons of light for sentient beings. Okay, so of course, now we don't know when this apocalypse will happen, right? But the scriptures say, it will come without much warning. Okay, yeah, I mean, today, if we if we look at the situation in the world, there's definitely a lot of tension, and it seems to be building up more and more each day. You know, there's geopolitical tension between different, like the U.S. and China and Russia and all that. So, and Iran, you know, so it seems like, wow, things are building up for something to happen. Whether something happens, you know, imminently, we don't know. Okay, so now Jesus in the Bible, right? Jesus also talked about this. Says there'll be the appearance of false prophets and the second coming. This is in Matthew 24. Okay, now after a nuclear war and the onset of nuclear winter, when we, you know, basically we won't have electricity, right? So a lot of the infrastructure may be destroyed. The electricity, because as part of the nuclear explosions, it gives off this this electromagnetic pulse, which can destroy or fry a lot of the electronic equipment, things like that. Okay, so a lot of electronics probably won't work, or things that are require electricity. And then temperatures plummet. Okay, so and of course there's also nuclear fallout everywhere. So how do we as cultivators then survive? Survive this doomsday scenario, right? Now, a Tao temple, you know, whether it's a public temple or a family temple, is called a cloud city, right? Yingchen, okay, so which offers protection. Now, there is a purple aura, like a shield, that covers each temple. All right, this shield will protect against this gangfeng, okay, so this four-corner wind. Now, churches and temples of like other like religions, right? They don't have this protection, basically because they don't have this heaven's mandate. Okay, so only with heaven's mandate that, you know, we have this protection. Okay, so you know, people can hide in churches or whatever, but that won't really. It's most likely, I would say, it's very unlikely that they will get that kind of protection. Okay. Now, so if a nuclear war starts, right, we have to find shelter in a Tao temple. All right. Now, that's why if we live far away from a temple, then we should consider setting up our own temple at home, you know, family temple, so we don't have to go anywhere. And that's maybe, well, you know, so recently in the scriptures that we've had, there's a recent scripture, this Hao Zhao Ling. Okay, so this where the encouraging, or really, you know, holy teachers saying, yeah, try to push, really encouraging, strongly encouraging that people, you know, do as much as they can, you know, in terms of performing merits, and of course cultivating, but also maybe setting up temples. So the more temples there are, the more protection there is. I think there was also, it was once said in some scripture also that, I mean, if a place has, I don't remember, it's like every, you know, 1 out of 7 homes, let's say, has a temple, then that area will be spared, you know, any kind of calamities or something like that. Okay, but I mean, it seems unlikely that we'd be able to achieve that. I mean, maybe in certain areas, okay, but here it doesn't seem too likely. All right. Now, if we happen to be outside in a nuclear explosion, then, you know, if we're at ground zero, then we probably won't survive. Okay. I don't know if there would be some kind of miracle that happens there, but it's most likely we're not going to survive. But, you know, our soul, we'll go back, we'll go to the cloud city that's in heaven. Okay, so, and then that's where we get checked out to see where we go next. You know, if we're qualified to actually stay in heaven. You know. So if we're cultivated well, then and we have merits and all that, then we'll be able to stay there. Okay. Okay. Now, let's see. okay, so actually, okay, so this is kind of some supplemental material that's also talking about this. This is, there's the 10, I think it's Lamu's or Huangmu's 10 admonishments to her children. Okay, so this is a scripture, I think it was from 1941, actually. I guess it's probably through, yeah, would have been through sandwriting. And then so they're like a total of 10 admonishments, and then this is from the 5th admonishment. So there's just an excerpt, part of that 5th one, where it says, 这种灾那种难不为其论. Okay, so yeah, basically these calamities of various kinds are not surprising. Okay, during talking about this white era. This is basically the white era, the end of days, the Dharma ending age. Okay, during this time, 最怕这水火风 okay 刷洗全球. So, yeah, the most terrifying is when the floods, the water, the 3 types of calamities, like floods, water, fires, wind, and other. But actually, that includes other. It's all sorts of disasters and calamities. Sweeps across the globe. Okay, so 黑七七四十九, right? 无有日月. Okay, so here again it says there will be 49 days of complete darkness, and which again we assume to be a nuclear holocaust event. And then 开地府. Okay, so 开地府放鬼魂起把命居. Okay, so this, so Lamu is saying also that the gates of hell, the underworld, will be open, and the spirits will be released. Okay, whoever, the souls in the underworld, they'll be released out into the world to be able to settle the score, basically, settle the karmic debts from past lives. So you can imagine the death, destruction, not just from assuming it's a nuclear war, and then there's also the mayhem coming about as a result of all this, all these spirits or souls seeking revenge, okay, seeking vengeance to get payback. All right, so we don't have to, we're not just worrying about, kind of staying safe from the nuclear explosions, but also, well, these are going to be invisible to us, and we can't see them coming. These spirits, okay, well, they would be our karmic debt collectors, the debt collectors. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so basically, this is it also says, the final class catastrophe, it's going to sweep through not just the human world but the entire cosmos, but basically in the celestial heavens as well. It will be affected. Okay, so it's basically going to be a great cleansing, I guess, of the human and Deva realms, and the purifying the 3 realms. After which a new world will emerge. Okay, so the gates of hell, right, will be okay. So so basically, for the past, you can say roughly 60,000 years that humans, that we've been in this world, we've accumulated lots of karmic debts, and this is kind of the time to settle the score, so to speak. So it's going to be all our past debts need to be settled. Okay. All right. And it says, Hei Qi Qi Yin Sen Sen Han Guang Man Si. Okay, so the dark cold light that blankets the entire world, right? Qi Tao Jia, right? 讨债 讨债命还命债将钱抽 okay 筹 okay. So basically the karmic debts is going to be collected and repaid, a life for a life, basically. So that's why I guess there's going to be a lot of death. Now, some of the, well, even I guess in this Lamu, in this 10 admonishments somewhere else, somewhere, I don't know, might be in this 5th one too, where it says basically 7 out of 10 will perish. 7 out of 10 people, so 70% at least. And it could, basically, and then some say, not up to 9, so 90%. So that's pretty serious. Now, obviously, maybe not everyone will die from the nuclear holocaust. A lot of people will also probably die as a result of this karmic payback, right? And then, okay, so the Gangfeng Jiang Sao Chen Kun Bing Sao Yizhou. Okay, yeah, so this is what I just said earlier. Okay, so the four corner winds will sweep through not just the earth, but also celestial realms. And then Sao Qi Xiang, Sua Sanjie, Ling Huan, this Ling Huan Su Niu. Okay, so, yeah, so this is where, after this, you can say, I don't know, it's a sweeping, this cleansing, if you will, of the evil from the world. You'll just be left with the few, so probably 10 to 30% of the people who are actually cultivating, and they will be left to basically start a new world. Okay. So this, and also like General MacArthur's revelation, he also said, for him, basically he said that World War III will definitely happen. So at some point, and so if that happens, obviously it's going to have a nuclear war. So we have to diligently cultivate our virtues, right? Nurture our virtues and establish true merits if we expect to survive this apocalypse. Not only just the nuclear war, but the fact that our karmic debts, we have to pay those off. And we try to pay them off with our merits if possible. Okay. Otherwise, if we indulge in the mundane or this material life, right, violate the principles and abandon our divinity, right, our divine nature, then our souls will become fragmented and suffer in the underworld. Let's see. Oh, okay, sorry. I think that. Oh wait. Okay. So I didn't. There's a few more lines that talk about this. Basically, what Lamu says that for those who don't survive, right, this time, that their souls become, you could say, we say fragmented. So basically in Chinese, they say 残灵. Okay, so, and our understanding is that these fragmented souls then, when they reincarnate as things like insects, okay, because insects, usually, you have like a whole, I don't know what you call a bunch of insects together. I mean, there's like a whole family, right? And like, for example, like ants or, bees, right? They have like a hive. They're all together. Okay. So that becomes something like that. Now it could become other insects too, I imagine. Or maybe other lower life forms. Okay. Maybe even fish. I don't know. Fish tend to be kind of, grouped together like that too. So basically, I mean, so that's very terrible. I mean, for us to become an insect, it would be very difficult. It'd take a very long time to then work your way up back to becoming a human again. Okay, so it definitely, that's not good. All right. Now, okay, so during these 49 days of darkness, okay, so, and it probably could be longer, okay, although, Lamu says 49, we have to stay in the temple, right? Now, in the temple, of course, we have the lamps, right? The 3 lamps, oil lamps, so they should all be lit, right? We light the lamps, make sure lamps are all lit. I mean, obviously, we probably do this as soon as we know that there's a war or something happening, because without electricity, right, we won't have the conveniences of modern life, right? No air conditioning, maybe no heat, no light, no internet, nothing. Okay, so So we're gonna, basically everyone's gonna be isolated in their. So we think that, well, this pandemic, we've had to kind of quarantine and kind of isolate ourselves from it. Yeah, but at least we still have internet and we have all the conveniences. But during this time, we won't have any of those conveniences, and so we depend on those the lamps, right? The lamps, oil lamps, for light and actually heat. So that will probably supply us with heat. All right, so that's the important thing here is that we have to make sure that we have a supply of lamp oil, right? That will last at least 49 days. I mean, we should probably have a supply that'll last us, several months at least, okay? Because basically the lamps will leave them, they're going to have to be burning 24/7, all right? Now this kind of reminds me of a parable in the Bible, right? This is actually in Matthew 25, which is about these 10 bridesmaids who took their lamps to meet with the bridegroom. Okay, so the 5 wise ones, they brought oil with their lamps. The 5 foolish ones, they only brought their lamps. They didn't bring any lamp oil. Now, because the bridegroom was a long time coming, so there was a delay, and so they fell asleep waiting for him. Then, in the middle of the night, a cry rang out. It says, "Here's the bridegroom. Come out to meet him." Right? The bridesmaids, they woke up, and the 5 foolish ones, they asked the other ones for oil, and they said, "Well, no. I mean, if we give you some oil, then we won't have enough ourselves." So they had to go out and get oil, find some lamp oil. And then while that happened, though, then the 5 wise ones, because they had the lamp oil, so they could light their lamps. And they went with the groom to the wedding banquet, and then the doors were shut. Okay, so when the 5 foolish bridesmaids finally went to the banquet, they were not allowed in. Okay, so this parable tells us to be prepared for the day when Maitreya appears again. All right, so we have to be prepared, and actually, if elsewhere in this, I think it's in this Matthew 25 or 24, that basically Jesus talks about, when the Maitreya comes. I mean, we won't know. Okay, we won't know when that happens. He says, it'll come like a thief in the night. So we have no idea when that will happen. And so maybe things will be. He also said, just like the time of Noah, in Noah's Ark, the flood, the great flood. People, they didn't believe that anything would happen, and so they kind of went on their lives normally. And then the flood came, and it came as kind of a big surprise, I guess. And so what Jesus is saying is that this next time it will be the same. So things might seem to be going okay in the world, but then suddenly. In this case, the nuclear war happens without much notice. All right. Okay. So another scripture from Holy Teacher, right, says, 四九之日天地暗 okay, 无日无月受风寒 okay, so again, the 49 days of darkness, there's no sun or moon, experiencing the cold, okay, so of nuclear winter. And then 井守层前意勿动 okay, so 一心等待光明显 okay, so basically we have to abide in sincerity and not give rise to thought. So we should not be, so I guess maybe that's why Holy Teacher kind of emphasized the fact that this Buddha nature thing that we should learn to practice, not give rise to single thought and let go of all karmic affinities. Because perhaps if we start having all sorts of different things pop up in our mind at that time, these also, it might attract the demons, might attract those spirits or whatever, okay, so to us. So we need to kind of work on just clearing our mind and staying calm, right? And then, so we waiting for in that darkness, we wait for the emergence of the light. Okay, so I don't know. I imagine that there's going to be some kind of, I don't know, a miracle, if you will. You know, when Maitreya appears, or at the time that, you know, maybe it's other bodhisattvas or other divine beings or celestial beings that come to kind of clear things up and let it, you know, where then we can have light again. All right, and then so 光明一现力活动 okay 展开救护无迟延 okay so basically once there's that light again where we can go out and see there's light we have to take action immediately okay so and basically we have a duty basically so the next line says 收拾埋尸了责任 okay so 清水度日苦Algen. Okay, so basically, you know, the mission is to go because there's going to be a lot of death out there. So a lot of corpses, if you will, and we'd have to bury those people. Okay, so that's basically once there's light again, when we go out. That's what we have to do, is to bury. Otherwise, you know, it's going to be a big mess with the rotting flesh and all that. So they have to be buried. Now, I don't know how you do that in the city. In the city, I don't know how you bury people. But now, here in that last line it says, we subsist on the holy water and suffer through the hardships. Okay, so basically, during these 49 days, okay, you could probably stock up on some food, right? But I don't know if it'll last that long. And obviously, the refrigerator, none of that stuff is going to work, and so the only thing you can have is some dry food and canned goods maybe. Okay, so but here it says that we can survive on the holy water, right? So we have the water. Every temple, we have at least 2 cups, 2 teacups. One is water, one has tea. Okay, so the tea you cannot keep, but the water you can keep. Okay, so these are the lamu's cups. And so in the temple, we always save the water, all right? So this is very important. If you have a temple, you have to save the water. If you don't save the water, if you drink it every day, when the time comes, we're not going to have running water. So you need to have water. And so this water, holy water, is special. And so you keep water stored in ideally like glass bottles, glass containers. And I mean, you don't. I don't know how much you want to save, but we can't like fill the whole house with these bottles of water, but we save enough, and because supposedly what they say is that all you need is a drop of water, okay, to keep you going for a day. So you just take a drop of water every day of this holy water. Now whether I don't know, it's a drop or maybe it's it's a cup of water, whatever it is, that's all we're gonna have basically to keep us for us to survive, right? Now, okay, Okay, so we do, all right, so we do have now, because obviously, we will have the water every day, right? We offer the tea and the water every day. So as we get too much of it, what you should do is cycle through. So you should label the bottles so that which is the oldest ones, when you store them in the bottles, and use. And if you, let's say, you have like 10 bottles, you keep 10 bottles, and then so if you filled up all 10, and then you need another one, you can, if that's all you're going to keep, then you take the old one and you start using you'll use the old one, and then so you reuse that bottle to put in the new water. Okay, so you kind of cycle through that way. This way, you don't have the water kind of. I mean, the water should be clean, and it should assuming your bottles are clean too, that they will last. They should last a long time. But it's still better to kind of cycle through them so that you don't have water that's too old either, right? Okay. All right. So So next one. Okay. So and this says continue. Okay. So 吃苦人上人在助祖师大寿元. Okay, so enduring the hardships, sets one apart from others, and we help Maitreya to complete this universal salvation mission. Okay, 营城躲灾过大难. Okay, so and then let's see. Okay, so 变也恒, right? 师 and 师心伤. Okay, so this we can escape the great calamities in this cloud city or the temple. Now, holy teacher, he grieves for the corpses that are scattered all over. 诚心修炼了生死. Okay, 准能躲过此难关. Okay, so sincerely cultivate and refine ourselves and complete this life, right, in order to escape this crisis, right? 清心 let's see, 清心寡语并污浊. Okay, so and then 肉食之人来忘持灾. Okay, so we have to purify our heart and mind. Okay, reduce the desires and get rid of our defilements. And holy teachers hoping that meat eaters can become vegan. So because basically the best chance of survival is becoming a vegan. Okay, during this time, right? So not only do we have to be good cultivators. Well, actually, good cultivators really means that we also have to be vegan. But and this is also mentioned in other scriptures, and I'll mention another one. So if we continue to eat meat, we continue to accumulate karmic debts that must be paid off. Right? So when the gates of the underworld are open, we still face that day of reckoning, and we'll probably pay back all our debts with our lives. So that's something that keep in mind. And now is a good time. It's never too soon, I guess. Well, until that day, we don't want to wait until that day and realize that it's too late. So we really should take the opportunity to try to become vegan as soon as possible. Right? Okay, so here's another scripture from the sage warrior Guan. Okay, so this is Guan Sen Di Jing. Okay, I don't know if that's a good title for him, but so his a very short scripture that says it's the warning to the world. All right, so 科学理论将对证. Okay, 不信你们查分明. Okay, so it says the science can verify the facts, right? If you don't believe it, you can confirm it for yourself. 日后世界将更新. Okay, 净流素食持斋人. Okay, so the world will be renewed in the future, and only the vegans will survive. Okay, okay, 素食持斋. Okay, I guess it could mean vegetarians, but in the future world, practically speaking, you won't have any animals. You're not going to get eggs. You're not going to get milk. So basically, it'll be vegan. All right. Now the next thing is very interesting. It says 一切五荤之食物，其其少尽根不生. Okay, so he's saying that these 5 pungent plants, right? Remember, when we take the vegan vow, right, we also exclude, we can't eat like onion, garlic, shallot, scallion, leeks, and of course, tobacco. These, you can say the pungent, the sticky vegetables or whatever, they'll be eliminated too in that future world. So this is interesting. I didn't, this is the first time I saw this, but so they can't take root. So that'll be interesting. That in that future world, these things won't exist either. And then 非是为凶那个红片里 ，OK， 科学长篇有证明。So Sage Warrior Guan is not he's not deceiving you. Okay, he's not deceiving us. Right? He's saying that scientific studies can bear out these facts. Right? And we know that from a medical standpoint, potassium is the element that can help protect against radiation. Right? This discovery came after World War II. During the testing of atomic bombs, the U.S. found that among the animals that were exposed to radiation, goats and sheep, I guess probably goats and sheep, had a higher survival rate than other animals. Right? Then they found out that because of their diet, they had a higher level of potassium in their bodies. Right? So during the Cold War, actually, as part of like nuclear, planning for nuclear war, the U.S. actually produced a lot of potassium tablets, right, for the people to take in the event of a nuclear war. Now, of course, this is obviously, this is kind of like a Western mentality of saying, just produce some kind of drug or something that you can take that will fix everything. But, just taking a lot of potassium is no guarantee of survival. Okay. Okay. So, and then so it goes on. Here's a 杀生害命宣妄想 okay 不信请看一日线 okay so it says don't think about killing or harming sentient beings or basically eating meat. Or if you don't believe me, you can see for yourself one day. So yeah, I mean basically if we want to take the chance and not become vegan before this apocalypse happens, then we're taking a big risk. All right. So 任你身铁口能变 okay so 身若污秽其少玩 okay so yeah so no matter how we might argue or fight about this that a person who is defiled, filthy, impure, in other words they eat meat, okay, they're not vegan, they'll all be swept away in this, okay. And remember when that, if we get caught up and killed in this, then we become one of those scattered souls, okay. So we won't be human in the next life. All right, so that's very scary. Okay, 若无应验 okay 无失性 okay so 愿受皇母将职权 okay so 职权 okay so if so Sage Warrior Guan is saying if what he's saying is not true, right, then he's lost his credibility and he's willing to be basically demoted by Lao Mu. Okay, so because right now Sage Warrior Guan he has the title of Yu Huang Dadi, the Jade Emperor. Okay, the Jade Emperor is actually in charge of all of the celestial heavens. So that's a pretty big high position. Okay, so so he's willing to kind of risk that, saying that, hey, this is definitely what he's saying is true. Okay, so 天地变迁无名然 okay so 观谋虽是吾生汉 okay 也曾为众类不甘 okay so he's saying that he's very clear in seeing understanding or seeing the changes that are going to happen in the world despite being a warrior, right, he was a general in the Han Dynasty or during that time back then. He still weeps endless tears for sentient beings because he knows what's going to happen. He sees what's going to happen. And actually the Buddhas and saints, even Lao Mu, they're saying that they're all Laomus, crying tears of blood, because seeing that basically all her children, everyone, is not turning back, towards the way, the divine way to return back to heaven. So, so basically, don't think that we can still eat meat and just take potassium tablets and then we'll be safe, right? That's wrong. Okay, so basically the solution has to be holistic, right? In the sense that it's not just one thing that can save you, right? We have to receive the Tao, of course, and then we have to be a sincere cultivator. We have to have the virtues and the merits, and also be vegan. Okay, so then it's not even necessary for us to take potassium tablets. If we do all of the above, there's no need to take these potassium supplements or whatever. Right? Okay. Let's see. Okay. All right. So back to the sutra. Okay, so this is the next line in the sutra. It says, 威震北方为帅手，肃清诸恶挂甲兵. All right, so 威震 so 威震北方. Okay, so it's basically referring to the troops, or the celestial army from the north. Wei is for, okay, and then 帅手 is, you can say, leading the charge. Okay, so, and then 肃清, okay, is to purge. Now, there's another version that says 肃清, which is to ask or request. That doesn't really make much sense here. I mean, because, okay, so 诸恶 is all evil. Okay, 化 to hang up or put away or whatever, and then 甲兵 is weapons. So you can ask the evil. So if you ask all the nuclear powers to say, destroy their nuclear weapons, they're not going to do it. Okay, so asking is not going to work, basically. So basically, 肃清 is going to purge. It's going to be a big purge. Okay, it's going to come via force rather than asking them to do that. So that other version that says 肃清 is not right. Okay, so basically here, so the impressive. Okay, so there's going to be this mighty army from the north, and they're going to be in command. And it's going to be the North Star deity. He's in charge. They'll purge all evil, dismantle or destroy, the weapons. Now the weapons, I heard, a long time ago, some, seniors in the temple, they say that, whether it's these celestial deities or the bodhisattvas, so when these, let's say, these ICBMs, these nuclear warheads are coming, they can, just make them, cause them not to explode, that's, so things like that. So we don't know. I mean, anything that's based on electronics really can be altered, basically. Okay, but anyways, okay, so basically they're going to destroy the wicked and save the good. Okay, so all weapons will be destroyed or dismantled. Some say this North Star deity is one of Maitreya's transformation bodies, the Nirmanakaya. Another explanation says it is one of Yuanshi Tianzun, Jing, I don't know, Jing something. Okay, so Jing Chue's transformation body, I don't know. But anyways, yeah, so, but Buddhas or Bodhisattvas, they have many transformation bodies. They can transform into any, so a lot of these, maybe some of these deities are also their transformation bodies. Now, the internal interpretation is to basically conquer our 7 emotions and 6 desires. We have to pull up and remove the evil by the roots. Okay, so our transformation comes from within the heart and mind, right? So that's very important. The internal, you can say that's the internal cultivation. Obviously, we need the external, the merits, to help us pay off our karmic debts, but then the internal cultivation is also important to get rid of to purify. You can say that's to purify ourselves internally. Okay. All right. Let's see. Okay. So the next line says 大 大救缘人伤儿女，火光落地化为尘. Okay, so 大救 is to come and rescue. 缘人, okay, so that refers to original people or original soul. So basically that's refers to all sentient beings. We all come from that source, okay, from 老母. And then 伤儿女, yeah, so the children of heaven, okay, children of 老母. And then 火光 is literally the fire, light. So you can say that's, one interpretation would be the nuclear explosion, fallout, acid rain, all that. And then 落地 is to descend to the ground. 化为尘 is to turn into dust. Okay, so that seems kind of obvious, I guess. So during this final class catastrophe, souls of the three realms, the humans, the devas, and the underworld, they can be saved in the universal salvation mission, right? So that's what the purpose of the this mission is, to try to save those who can be saved, right? Not everyone can be saved or is willing to be saved, and so we have, and they'll be swept away. But if there are any good people who are qualified, can be saved, then we should try to save them. But we, again, we have to truly cultivate, become vegans, and ferry other people. Okay, so, and of course, nuclear explosion that turns everything to dust. Now humans, of course, we can receive the Tao directly. The devas have more difficulty receiving the Tao because they must find someone who has affinity and is willing to provide the merit fee, okay, for them. The souls in the underworld are a bit somewhat easier in the sense that, as long as they have descendants who receive the Tao and are cultivating, then the descendants can uplift them. Or as we talked about in past, I don't know which class, previous sections that it talked about where the descendants, if they are cultivating and they're progressing in the Tao, that their ancestors will benefit in the underworld, and they don't have to suffer, first of all, and then they're like 3 different levels. So when they get to the third level, that basically when the descendant returns to heaven, that they also return to heaven. Okay, so that's the best. So a consequence of the universal salvation mission is a separation of the wheat from the chaff. Right? So in the Holy Bible, right, John the Baptist said that the one who comes after him carries a fan that he will use to separate the wheat from the chaff. The wheat will be saved and the chaff will be thrown into the fire. Okay, so, all right, so now there's also one explanation saying that the North Star deity will help save the true cultivators by blocking, like the fallout, radiation, that kind of thing. Now, one thing to note, let's see. Yeah, okay, so we talked about the potassium, right? So that's, as a vegan, of course, we'll have more potassium in our diet. So we don't necessarily need to take those potassium tablets, right? Okay, so now whether some deity or Buddha can save us really depends on us. Now, we must cultivate well, conquer our emotions and desires, relinquish the attachments of the 6 portals, nurture our virtues, establish our merits, and ferry others. Then if we are true and sincere cultivators, our light will be bright, and the deities and Buddhas can save us. And also, okay, so becoming vegan, the Buddhas, there's also, in the scriptures, they say, right, if we make vows, so like if we take the vegan vow, then we have a yellow flag. Okay, so we get, we can't see it, but some people, the Buddhas, the saints, the celestial beings, divine beings, they can see these flags, okay, so that we have. Now, so every time, so when we make these vows, that we get a flag. And for, who are they going to save is they're going to see who has the flags. So the ones who have more flags, obviously, I guess it's kind of becomes like a priority thing that, they save them first. And so on. So if we have no flags at all, then we're on our own. Okay, so they probably won't be able to get around to saving us. And so therefore, not only should we become vegan, we should take the vow. Once we take the vow, then we have that flag, and that will definitely help us a lot more. They'll be able to see that we have a flag and they can try to save us. All right. Okay. So, okay. Now, in terms of that, people who become, who are consumed, they perish as a result of the nuclear holocaust, right? They turn into scattered souls. Now, it's interesting, yeah, because scattered souls, they reincarnate as insects and, kind of lower life forms. From a science perspective, this kind of makes sense too, actually, because, in a nuclear war, or, there's radiation, fallout, that kind of stuff, the higher life forms are not as likely to survive, whereas the lower life forms like insects, they tend to survive, be able to survive. And so it's interesting, maybe that future, it's aside from the true cultivators, the vegans, cultivators, who survive, insects will survive. And so, I don't know, it's from a science point of view, it's kind of interesting because the next cycle, you're going to have all these, how, if we look at kind of evolution, if you will, that, life starts at the lower life forms. Anyways, all right. But anyways, let's see. All right, so let's go maybe one last line here. Okay, so 四海龙王来助道，各驾相迎去腾空. Okay, so 四海is like, literally it's like the four seas, but this, and then 龙王 is the dragon kings. So you can say these are like the dragon kings of the four seas. In Buddhism, they talk about these kind of celestial beings. Okay, so the dragon or Naga is one of them. But these you can say that this refers to not just the Naga, but also the other celestial beings. And then they come to help with the Tao. Okay, and so good, that's Lai Zu Dao. And then Ge Jia is like to each they're writing, and then Xiangying is like the auspicious clouds, and Qi Teng Kong is like soaring in the sky. Okay, so basically the Nagas and other celestial beings come to help in Tao affairs, right? There are these 8 in Buddhism. They do talk about this. These actually I think come originally from Hinduism, but there are these 8 classes of celestial beings. There are devas, okay, that we know about. There's like humans that go to the celestial, that are reborn in the celestial heavens. Nagas are these dragons. Garudas are they're like birds. They're like these giant bird creatures. And they are, let's see, these are, they're basically, okay. Oh, so the dragons, the Nagas are like the king of the scaled, the like reptiles, things like that. Serpents. Garudas, they're like the king of the birds, the feathered race, okay? But they prey on the Naga, okay? Kind of interesting. And then there's the Yaksa. They are like demons, or malevolent spirits. The Gandharvas they're kind of like musical deities, okay? Asuras, okay, we hear a lot about Asuras. They're the belligerent demons. Kinnaras are like singers. I guess they're like the sirens, I don't know. And then Mahoraga are serpents. Okay, so these celestial beings are called upon to help in Tao affairs. They assist the Bodhisattvas and other divine beings in the great mission of the White Era. Wherever there is a need, they all come quickly to help in the Tao affairs. Okay, now the Nagas, the dragons, they're associated with water. Okay, so, and they have control over the waters. So they can bring about great rains and flooding to wash and cleanse the filth of the world, to reveal a bright new world. All right, so one lecturer was explaining that when they held a Dharma class, they hold Dharma classes in Thailand, right, in the summer, and it's very hot. Okay, so and they have no air conditioning, and there's like several hundred people in the temple, right? So they use like moist towels to keep cool. But even, the moist towels would become dried during the course of a single lecture. Okay, so after lunch, right, there was a visitation by holy teacher this one time. When he channeled in, the wind picked up and the sky turned dark. And then there was this heavy rain. And so Holy Teacher said that, he couldn't bear to see how everyone was suffering from the heat. And so he invited the rain deity, okay, so which is basically one of these dragon kings, to provide some cooling relief for about, an hour after lunch. So the rain deity is basically, it's Dragon King. So even at night, the night before the start of the Dharma class, right, because everyone, all from afar, all the class members, they're all staying in the temple, including all the lecturers and staff members. But it's hot. So at night, then there would be a heavy rain to kind of cool things off, so that everyone can sleep, kind of get good rest before the Dharma class. Now also, this kind of reminds me of one time in 2002 at our old temple, Tongde Tang. Okay, so this was the South Pole longevity, the immortal. Okay, so the Nanji Shenong, right? He channeled during one class, and he composed a song called, 小雨中的思念. Okay, so light rain's yearning, right? So at the time, then this light rain started to fall, and it ended, pretty much after, he was done composing, or done with the channeling. And so basically, the rain deity or the Dragon King can bring about, the rain on command. Okay, so I think, I guess we probably, all right, let me actually do one more line here. We'll finish this section. Okay. 十方天兵护佛驾, 保佑弥勒去成功. Okay, so 十方, again, means all directions. 天兵 are the celestial soldiers, or, from all directions. Okay, so 护佛驾 against to assisting the Buddhas or Bodhisattvas. 保佑 is to ensure or guarantee. 弥勒 Maitreya, and then 去成功, okay, to succeed, right? So the celestial armies from all directions accompany and assist Buddhas and Bodhisattvas to ensure the success of Maitreya Buddha's mission of this universal salvation and transforming the world into a world of great harmony. Okay, that's the ideal world that Confucius talked about. Before, during, and after the apocalypse, Maitreya Buddha, Bodhisattvas, and the divine and celestial armies do their utmost to save the sentient beings who can be saved and transform the post-apocalyptic world into a new world of great harmony. Okay, so let me just also here. So this is the section that we just completed. Again, so this is kind of referring to the time when Maitreya will come for the third time during this white era. So during this, this white era and Dharma ending age, right, we are experiencing all three major calamities of water, fire, and wind. Currently, there is massive flooding in China, and torrential rains are causing more flooding than before. Right, this is the water disaster. Then we also have the fire disaster, like of wildfires, like in Siberia and California, right, and extreme heat around the world, and causing severe drought in some places. The wind disaster is in the form of more powerful hurricanes, typhoons, cyclones, tornadoes, right? But there is also an invisible wind that spreads viruses around the world, as in a pandemic, okay? And then there's also human conflict in the form of wars. Okay, so all these calamities are building up to the final catastrophe, right? Now, the only way to survive is to receive Tao, to become a vegan, and, ideally, now they don't specifically say whether you have to have taken the vow, but, again, for insurance, definitely, if you can, definitely take the vow, okay? Because actually, in that future world, if you're to survive, you have no choice anyways. So, so we have to sincerely cultivate, to nurture our virtues and establish our merits by removing all the evil and sinful people and their ways from the world. We are left with a world of true cultivators. Only then will we have a world of great harmony. When we're saying evil and sinful people, it's basically anyone who has turned their back to heaven. They've turned their back against, towards their own divinity, and their own Buddha nature, their true nature, or their conscience. So basically, this applies. Basically, it means most people. I mean, we tend to think, oh, most people are not sinful or evil, but from heaven's point of view, it's like if you don't want to return back to heaven, then because you're pursuing the material stuff, you're pursuing all these other things, then that is being sinful and evil. Okay, so now it's hard to imagine, a paradise after a nuclear holocaust. I've been thinking about this, and it's like, how's that going to happen? Because we see in the movies how they depict a post-apocalyptic world. It's a world that they depict as a grim and desolate world, right? Buildings and infrastructures are destroyed, right? Not to mention there's nuclear fallout all over the place and a nuclear winter. Clean food and water will be scarce, right? However, I guess, Maitreya Buddha, the Bodhisattvas, divine and celestial beings, they all have special powers, superpowers, you can say. And they'll be able to renew the environment so that we can actually survive outside, because we're going to have to come out of the temple at some point and, to deal with whatever. And so, but anyways, I guess you could say it's kind of, it's beyond imagining, how this will happen, but you have to have the faith that it will happen, after the apocalypse, that you'll have a new world. It'll be a much better world. Okay. So, all right. I think okay, so I guess that's it then. Are there any questions? Probably not. Okay, so I just want to say if I have said anything wrong or not satisfactorily, I ask the Buddhas and also Maitreya Buddha for forgiveness, and also the transmitting masters and lecturers for their corrections. Thank you.